Hello, guys and gals. And this is a book review for the fifth Daniel X book. It is Armageddon. Um, it This entire book draws inspiration from several literary sources. The primary literary source is from the Book of Revelations, from the Bible, and the secondary source would be Dante's Inferno, I believe. Anyways, this all starts out with Daniel X infiltrating a gathering of lots of really bad people. Um, I will say this is probably one of my favorite Daniel X books. It's also probably one of the longest. I'm going to check the length of the pages right now, the number of pages in here. And I think that it's probably one of the longest books also, which works out for about 296 pages, looks like. Very awesome. But also, like I said, this is also one of my favorites. This is a book by James Patterson and Chris Grabenstein. I'm not familiar with Chris Grabenstein, but when I did the search, it did say that he was basically did a lot of horror, children's horror, young adult horror, and so that's cool because I noticed that the series kind of took more of a horror turn, which it really needed to. There's nothing wrong with the series as it was, but this was a breath of fresh air, let's say. Anyways, in this book, Daniel X goes after number 2 on the list, the big list of all the bad guys, the evil aliens on planet Earth. And number 2 just happens to be someone very, very interesting. Number 2 just happens to be the devil himself. And so anyways, but Daniel X isn't quite alone in this endeavor. There is a branch of the government, kind of like the X-Files, you know. It's a branch basically dedicated to alien activities, you know, and extraterrestrial-based things. And Daniel finds out that his father worked for this corporation as well, this organization. So he's not exactly alone. He has like the backing of a government organization now, which is kind of cool. Then Armageddon happens, and it's kind of a strange Armageddon, because number 2 on the alien list kind of takes over everything, and that's it's really, really fascinating. Actually, I really like this book. It is very well written. But yeah, a lot of things do happen in this book. A lot of them are noteworthy, but this is a no spoilers review. In 2 weeks, I will be doing a review of the entire Daniel X franchise, so I can talk about the finer points and even all the spoilers. But I won't do that here. Basically, the literature that this is based on is interwoven ingeniously within the fabric of the story. But yeah. Anyways, there's a lot going on, more than meets the eye. Again, it's mentioned in here as well that time travel doesn't work, which makes sense. In order to take down this foe, not the final foe by any stretch of the imagination, because there is another book, and in book 6 he takes on, you know, number 1. Now you're probably asking, if number 2 is the devil, then how can number 1 be more powerful than that? And I know you're asking that, but that's an answer I can't give because it would be a spoiler. Anyways, this book was geniusly handcrafted. One thing that I really like about the Daniel X franchise the franchise as a whole. Every book, really mingles together really well. Um, and basically, even though it's written by, let me think here. One was written by Michael Ludwedge. Um, number 2 was written by Ned Rust. Number 3 was Adam Sadler. Number 4 was Ned Rust. Number 5 and 6, Chris Grabenstein. So is that, wait a minute, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 authors have written 6 books. What's always amazing to me is that a series like this is written by, well, it's written by James Patterson, but there's always a guest writer. And what's always amazing to me is that everything kind of remains within the same continuity. And I have a theory about that I will touch upon when I talk about the franchise as a whole. I will briefly touch upon it here. I believe that there's probably like a set boundary or a set amount of things that have to be the same at the end of each story in order for the next author to take over, is what my guess would be. Because it always seemed to me like every time a book ended, everything would go like back down to 0, and then even after everything ramps up, so everything was like the same for the next book. It also means that these books can be read in any order, but if you do that, I would highly recommend you read book 5 before you read book 6, because book 6 basically is the last book, and you don't want to read the last book first because, well, anyways, another thing, have I already said this? I don't know if I've said this or not already, so I'm going to say it again, so I'm probably going to be repeating myself. One of the things that I really like about the Daniel X franchise is that it doesn't really promote a worldview. Even if it uses religious texts, it doesn't really promote that worldview. And I appreciate that. It's kind of rare to actually read a book series that doesn't promote some kind of worldview. And so, yeah. Even though this book has some religious source material here, it doesn't really push that worldview, which is pretty cool. Anyways, but yeah, a lot of interesting things happen. Also, Daniel's dad had a spiritual advisor, and this was a really unique spiritual advisor. I really won't get too much into that because, again, that would probably be a spoiler. But one of the things I really like about this, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again because it is super important, is the story is basically a tapestry. Because you have the source material interwoven very interconnectedly, very, very tight knit into the fabric of the story. So you have this beautiful tapestry. Beautiful things don't exactly happen all the time, but it is very well written. But yeah. As always, Daniel has his friends with him too. Dana, Joe, Emma, and so yeah. All of his friends. I mean, all 4 of his friends are there to basically, help him. And his mom, dad, and his sister Porkchop are there too, aka Brenda. So yeah, because he has the power of creation, if he can see it, he can replicate it, as long as he knows how it works. I remember there was some book he wanted to do something, but he thought, well, maybe he could make a wormhole or something, but he didn't know how wormhole technology worked or something like that. Or he could make a giant vacuum cleaner or something, but he didn't know exactly how the inner workings of the vacuum cleaner work, so he couldn't exactly do that. So matter manipulation, in other words. Interesting thing is that it's rare for our Parnakians, which is what Daniel X is. He's from the planet Alpar Nok, who basically gifted elephants and woolly mammoths to the planet Earth. It's like their spirit animal, the one they revere. But people from his planet, it's rare for them to have this ability to, manipulate matter, create something out of nothing. However, both of his parents had the power, and so, of course, his power was like doubled. Anyways, how Dante's Inferno plays into all this also is really, really well written. I do have a copy of Dante's Inferno. I'd have to find it, but I know I bought a copy of it from a thrift store, I believe. A copy of Dante's Inferno, and I have been meaning to read that, but currently I've been working through the Wings of Fire series. I'm on book 8, I believe, of that. And I bought a book today called Shadow of the Red Moon by Walter Dean Myers, but it doesn't look to be a very, very long book. So I might try to read that. It's less than 200 pages. I thought it would probably be about werewolves or something, and I'm not entirely sure it isn't, but it does take place on another planet, apparently, from my research. But that is I'll probably do a review of it after I read it, actually. But I have lots of other book reviews to do before that. I've got a list of them that I basically need to work on. So, book 5. Book 5 basically is about not trusting your senses. And yeah, it's very, very well written. And it's also Chris Grabenstein that wrote book 6 that basically ends the franchise. Although they could probably pick it up at any time. Of course, I'm not sure what year the 6th book came out. I know that there was at least rumors of something. Move this out of the way. Book 6. Okay. So, I'm going to look and see when this was. 2016. That's kind of what I thought. So, it's been 8 years, I believe, since the 6th book came out. Maybe even longer for this one. I'm going to check okay, it doesn't say on the back. I'm sure it probably says in here, though, so give me just a sec to check. All rights reserved. Okay. Book. Oh. Wow. 2012. So this book came out, then 4 years later, the final book came out. That's kind of weird because it seems like they'd be closer together. But that's fine. Anyways. This book was by far one of my favorites. And basically it's because of how well written it is. All the books in the series are well written, though. I do want to point that out. I think that you should read all of them because they're all ingenious. Now, as I was saying, there has been, at least in the works for the past, I don't know exactly how many years, there has been either a movie or a TV show or something that was going to be based off this book series, but it keeps getting like tossed around to different franchises and different studios and stuff like that. So basically it's been in like development limbo for 6 years probably or so. I don't know. It would be really nice. I think this book is really, really good. Really poignant for today, I would say. Especially this one. Well, sorry about that. Get the image back. There we go. Even though I think most of the other books were under 200 pages. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'll check real quick. Okay, this was 262 pages. Book 6 was. So I guess it's only a little bit longer than some of the other books. Again, these books go by really, really fast. One thing I really like about these, and I said this in like all the other reviews, one thing I really like about the Daniel X series is that the chapters are super short, maybe 2 or 3 pages at most. So you really feel like you're making progress. I mean, with books that have like 10, 20 page chapters, and it's like, well, am I making any progress in this book? With Daniel X, it's like, oh, well, I'm really going through the chapters. So there might be like 97 chapters, but like only 200 pages. Well, in this case, it would be 262 in book 6. But I appreciate that, and I didn't really pick up on that until I think I saw an episode of Family Guy, something about the book club, and Lois was like, "Oh, have you read this one book? The chapters are really, really short, so it feels like I'm making progress." I'm like, "Oh wow, that seems really poignant to me," because I was reading this book and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm really making progress, and it was the short chapters. Granted, not all books need short chapters, but it really made it hard to put the book down. But yeah. In all the previous books 1 through 4, Daniel was basically alone except for his friends and his mom, dad, and sister. It was 4 friends and, his mom, dad, and sister. But in this one, he actually has at his disposal like an entire, government branch, which was really well implemented, I would have to say. Another thing I really like about this book is that it's really simply written. And no, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. I feel that books that are aimed more towards adults tend to be a little bit complicated, but everything in this book seems to be very simplified. If there's a concept, it's written very well so that anyone can understand it. Some books maybe basically aimed at adults is kind of like reading like a textbook on I don't know, nuclear fission or something. However, if James Patterson and a guest author were to like write a book about the same textbook, they could probably make it digestible by anyone, because they can grasp topics and then write very simply about them. They can simplify it so that it is understandable by everyone, is what I'm trying to say. And that's why another reason I really like the book series. But yeah, this is definitely a book that you should check out if you like the Daniel X franchise. And even if you don't, it's still really it's worthwhile. It is a very good book, and I kind of felt that the stakes were super high in this one. I mean, like higher than all the previous books. The stakes keep getting higher, and that's everything kind of keeps ramping up. And it was really, 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 really good. But that's just my opinion. And you can either take my opinion or leave it either way is fine. I really enjoyed this book. I liked how well written it was. How it tackled the source material. If I had one word to describe it, I'd say awesome, because this was a masterpiece. Anyways, but yeah, next week we will be reviewing book 6. That's Lights Out. The final book. Final book of the whatever 6 books are called, because I know it goes like trilogy, and then it goes like, I don't know what 4 is, or 5. Quintilogy or something, quintrilogy, quadrilogy, I don't know. Other thing that's kind of interesting about this is I know with Wings of Fire, Each arc is 5 books with most of the Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson books, which are sometimes mentioned in here. The Percy Jackson books. Um, they're 5 books usually per arc as well. So it was kind of a bold move in order to go to 6 books, I think, because most book series um, only did only did 6. Even the Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan was 5 books. That was that the Norse. I think the Norse one and the Egyptian one were 3. It was a trilogy, I think. Don't quote me on that though. I don't remember. But I do know that the Lightning Thief, and all those, the Lost Hero, and all those, and the Trials of Apollo, all were 5 books, which is basically standard. So they kind of went outside the standard with the 6th book, I would say. But yeah, if you are going to read the series, make sure you read book 5 before you read book 6, though, because it kind of ties in, I would say. But yeah, honestly, amazing book, amazing authors. Um, I feel that the turn, the more turn, well, the turn towards the horror aspect of the aliens and stuff was the right thing to do. Really amped up the tension. But yeah, that's just my opinion, though. You can either take my opinion or leave it. Either way is fine. Again, I've already said what I like most about the books, so I think I can skip that this time. And so yeah, if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe. Read the books, so ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, if you want to support me in any way, or if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. You are loved, and have a great day.